So, Down syndrome. It's a name we've all heard, right? But what does it really mean? Like, what's happening on a biological level? And maybe even more importantly, what does it mean for the person? In this explainer, we're going to break all that down, the science and the human side of the story.
Okay, so what is Down syndrome? Well, when you boil it all down, it's a genetic condition. And the key detail, the one thing you really need to remember, is this. It's caused by an extra copy of chromosome 21. It sounds small, right? But let's dig into what that one little difference in our genetic code actually means.
All right, to really get it, we've got to start with the genetics. You can think of it as like the source code for the human body.
So, it all starts with our chromosomes. They're kind of like the building blocks of our bodies. If you think of our DNA as this giant, super detailed instruction manual for building a person, then the chromosomes are the chapters. They hold all the instructions for, well, for everything, from your eye color to the way your heart beats.
So, if that's the standard instruction manual, where does the change happen? Let's zoom in on that one specific detail that defines Down syndrome.
Okay, so typically every single cell in a human body has 46 chromosomes. They're organized in 23 pairs. You get one set from each parent. That's the standard blueprint, right? So let's just lock that in as our baseline. But with Down syndrome, that number, it's just a little different. It's a tiny change, numerically speaking, but it's a change that has a really big impact. And honestly, it all comes down to simple math, just +1. The entire condition boils down to one single extra chromosome. So instead of the usual 46, a person with Down syndrome has 47. So you might be asking, where does this extra one come from? Well, it's a third copy of a very specific chromosome, number 21. You know, tri means 3, right? That's exactly why the medical name for it is often trisomy 21, 3 copies of chromosome 21. Okay, so we've established the what, an extra copy of chromosome 21. But the big question is, what does that actually mean? You know, for a person's development, for their day-to-day life? Well, that extra genetic information basically alters the body's typical developmental path. It can mean that folks with Down syndrome might develop physically and mentally at a different pace. And it can also lead to some of the characteristic physical features that we sometimes associate with the condition. But here's the thing. The biology, that's really just one piece of the puzzle. What's way more important is what this all means for a person's life. We need to look beyond the diagnosis and ask, what does it take to live a full, happy, and meaningful life? And this right here, this is the absolute heart of the matter. The focus shouldn't just be on the genetic code, but on the world around that person. You see, someone's potential isn't just written in their chromosomes. It's built by the support system they have. So what does that support system actually look like? Well, it really comes down to 3 huge things. First, proper medical care that's tailored to their needs. Second, a great, inclusive education. And third, and this is a big one, a strong community. You know, family, friends, people who have their back. And it's so important to see these aren't just like nice add-ons. They are the absolute fundamental ingredients for a life full of opportunity. When you get those 3 things working together, that's when you create an environment where individuals can really, truly thrive. Which brings us to a final and I think really important question. If we know that support is the key, that a strong community unlocks potential, well then the conversation has to shift, doesn't it? It stops being just about genetics and starts being about society. It becomes about all of us. And it makes you wonder, what role can we all play in building more supportive communities? Not just for people with Down syndrome, but for absolutely everyone.